Owning a home in a neighborhood run by an overzealous HOA is already a nightmare, but when Karen is the president, it's like living under a petty dictatorship. From the moment I moved in, Karen made it her mission to make my life hell. First, she started with the ridiculous fines. One day it was a notice claiming my mailbox was an unapproved color. The next, it was a $200 penalty for having my garbage cans out 10 minutes early. Then, when those didn't get the reaction she wanted, she moved on to full-blown harassment. She'd call the city over non-existent code violations. She'd trespass onto my property, claiming she had the right to inspect it as HOA president. And worst of all, she started trying to get me removed from the neighborhood entirely. One morning, I walked outside to find a foreclosure notice taped to my door. My stomach dropped. I knew my mortgage was up to date, so what the hell was this? I ripped the paper off and scanned it. It was fake. At the bottom of the notice, I saw the HOA's letterhead and Karen's signature. I clenched my fists. This wasn't just annoying fines anymore. She was trying to make me lose my home. Fuming, I stormed down the street to her house. Karen was outside watering her perfectly manicured front lawn when I held up the notice. "What the hell is this?" I demanded. She barely glanced at it before smirking. "Oh, that? It's just a courtesy warning. You violated so many rules that the board is considering legal action to reclaim your property." My jaw tightened. "Karen, you don't have that power. The HOA can't just steal my house." She tilted her head, her smirk widening. "Oh, but we can. Read the fine print on your HOA contract. You've racked up so many fines, we have the right to place a lien on your property. If you don't pay, we can force a foreclosure." My blood boiled. "You made up half of those fines, and now you're trying to kick me out?" Karen shrugged. "I'm only enforcing the rules. If you don't like it, you can always move." She turned her back on me, humming as she went back to watering her roses like she hadn't just threatened to take my home. I gritted my teeth. "Oh, Karen, you just screwed yourself. Because if she wanted to play dirty, I was going to bury her." I contacted a real lawyer, one who specialized in HOA abuse cases. When I explained everything, the fake foreclosure notice, the trespassing, the harassment, the excessive fines, he just sat back and let out a low whistle. "Oh, she's done," he said, shaking his head. "This is an open and shut lawsuit. She violated multiple laws, including fraudulent misrepresentation, unlawful fines, and harassment." I raised an eyebrow. "How much do you think we can sue for?" My lawyer grinned. "Considering she's been doing this for years, and the damages you've suffered, we're going for everything." Over the next few weeks, my lawyer gathered mountains of evidence. I had dozens of fake violation notices. I had security footage of her trespassing onto my property. And the best part? Other neighbors came forward too. Turns out Karen had been extorting money from residents for years, pocketing half the fines she issued. She wasn't just power-hungry, she was running a full-blown scam. By the time my lawyer was finished, we didn't just have a solid case. We had enough to ruin her completely. The lawsuit was filed. Karen, thinking she was untouchable, laughed it off until she got served. Then, she lost her mind. "You can't sue me! I'm the HOA president!" she shrieked, storming into my front yard. I folded my arms. "And? That doesn't mean you're above the law." "I have a legal team," she screamed. "You can't win this," I smirked. "Oh, Karen, I already did." Because the court date was set and the evidence was overwhelming. And when it was all over, Karen was going to lose everything. The trial started with Karen walking in with all the confidence in the world. She had a team of expensive lawyers, a smug expression, and an attitude like she was still the one in control. But the moment my lawyer started laying out the evidence, that confidence started crumbling. He presented the fake foreclosure notice proving Karen had committed fraud. Then came the security footage of her trespassing, the dozens of illegal fines, and the testimonies of other neighbors who had also suffered under her reign. Karen's face went pale. Her lawyer was scrambling for defenses, but there were none. She was guilty, plain and simple. The judge looked over everything, then turned to Karen. "Ms. Davis, your actions are not only illegal, but they are reprehensible. You are hereby ordered to pay Mr. Carter a settlement of $3,200,000 in damages." Karen gasped. "3.2 million?" she screeched. "Yes," the judge said, "and given the severity of your actions, I am also ruling that you are permanently barred from serving on any HOA board." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Karen sat there completely stunned. She had lost everything. The courtroom was packed on the day Karen's trial began. She strutted in with her usual smugness, flanked by a team of overpriced lawyers as if she was about to crush us in court. She had no idea she was walking straight into her own downfall. My lawyer stood up, calm and confident, and began laying out the case. The moment he presented the fake foreclosure notice with Karen's signature, her cocky grin vanished. Then came the security footage, multiple clips of her trespassing onto my property. Then the witness statements, neighbors detailing how she had extorted them for years. Then the financial records, proof that Karen had been pocketing fines for her own personal gain. With every new piece of evidence, her face lost more color. Her lawyers scrambled for a defense, but there wasn't one. Karen had buried herself. By the time we got to closing arguments, she was visibly shaking. The judge took one last look at the evidence, then turned to Karen. "Miss Davis, your actions are not only illegal, but they are reprehensible. You are hereby ordered to pay Mr. Carter a settlement of $3,200,000 in damages." Karen gasped. "3.2 million?" she screeched. "Yes," the judge said, "and given the severity of your actions, I am also ruling that you are permanently barred from serving on any HOA board." The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Karen sat there completely stunned. She had lost everything. The fallout was glorious. Karen tried to appeal, but her case was so airtight that every attempt failed. She couldn't afford to pay the $3,200,000, so the court seized her assets. Her car, gone. Her savings, drained. And worst of all, her house was repossessed and put up for sale. And guess who bought it? Me. I waited until the day she was officially evicted before making my move. As Karen stood on the curb, watching movers carry out the last of her belongings, I walked up, holding the deed to her house in my hands. She turned and saw me, her eyes widening in horror. You bought my house?" I grinned. "Well, you did say I should move." "So I did. Right into your house." Her jaw dropped. "You can't do this." "Oh, but I can." I waved the deed in front of her face. "Legally, this house belongs to me now, and since you're broke and out of options, I wanted to offer you a job." Her face twisted in disgust and disbelief. "A job?" I smirked. "That's right. Since you need money, and I need someone to clean my toilets, I figured, why not?" Karen's entire body tensed. You expect me to be your maid?" "Oh, absolutely. You spent years making my life miserable now. It's my turn." Her fists clenched. "I'd rather die." I shrugged. "Suit yourself. But considering you have zero money, zero credit, and nowhere to go, you might want to reconsider." For the first time in her life, Karen had no power. She was broke, homeless, and completely out of options, and the only job offer she had left was mine. Karen stood there, fists clenched so tight her knuckles turned white. The reality of her situation was finally sinking in. She had no money, no home, no power, and now? The person she had spent years trying to ruin was offering her a job as a maid. I watched as the war raged in her mind. Her pride screamed at her to refuse, but the cold, harsh truth? She had no other choice. After a long, painful silence, she swallowed hard and muttered, "Fine." I grinned. "Good choice. Your first shift starts now." I led her inside, her former house, now mine, and let her take it all in. The place was spotless thanks to the professional cleaners I hired after buying it. But from this moment forward, keeping it that way, that was Karen's job. "First task," I said, handing her a bucket and mop. "The floors need scrubbing, top to bottom, no shortcuts." Her face twisted in pure humiliation, but she took the bucket without a word. I made sure her work was miserable. When she finished scrubbing the floors, I had her clean every window, inside and out. When that was done, I handed her a toilet brush. "You missed the bathrooms." She wanted to explode, I could tell. But all she could do was grit her teeth and scrub. Every insult she had thrown my way, every unfair fine, every time she had tried to steal my home, she was paying for all of it now. The best part, the whole neighborhood knew. Word had spread fast. People walked by just to watch her cleaning her own former house. Some even waved. Mr. Reynolds, a neighbor she had once fined for having the wrong shade of curtains, strolled past and smirked. "Looking good, Karen. Keep up the hard work." She turned red but didn't say a word. Over the next few weeks, I made sure she felt every ounce of humiliation she had once dished out. She wasn't allowed to eat in the main dining room. That was for the homeowner, me. She wasn't allowed to park in the driveway. That was my spot. And when she complained, I just smiled. "Karen, you're free to quit. Of course you'd have to find another place to live, if you can." That shut her up real quick. The breaking point came a month in. She was polishing furniture when I walked in and casually dropped my keys on the counter. "I'm hosting a housewarming party tonight," I said. "You'll be working. Guests should arrive around 7. Make sure everything is perfect." Karen's eye twitched. "You're throwing a party in my house?" I laughed. "No, Karen, I'm throwing a party in my house. And you're serving drinks." Her hands shook with rage, but she couldn't argue. Not unless she wanted to be homeless. The party was glorious. Friends, neighbors, even people she had once harassed through the HOA all showed up, and Karen, she was stuck serving them all. At one point I caught her in the kitchen, gripping the sink, breathing hard. Her whole body trembled. For the first time I actually felt a little bad for her. But then I remembered everything she had done, and just like that, the sympathy vanished. After the party, Karen finally cracked. She stormed into the living room, ripping off her apron. "I quit!" she shrieked. "I can't do this anymore!" I leaned back in my chair, completely calm. "Oh? You're quitting? Where are you going to live?" She froze. The realization hit her like a truck. She had nowhere to go. Her shoulders slumped, her breathing came in shaky gasps. She swallowed hard. "I don't know." I shrugged. "Sounds like you don't have a choice then. See you at work tomorrow." And just like that, she was trapped.